Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see it. I was doing some research this morning, and I stumbled upon an article from sportsrush.com, and it had some hilarious quotes from Charles Barkley as it pertains to Kyrie Irving, right? So I quickly opened the article, and I started reading it, and initially what we were going to do was we were going to discuss his quotes, but then we checked around the internet, and we were able to find the audio from inside, NBA on TNT, and we were able to find the audio of Shaq and Charles Barkley essentially discussing the situation with Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets. And this, by the way, is coming off of a loss that the Brooklyn Nets suffered at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers, which dropped the Brooklyn Nets, now as we currently speak, to the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. And over their last 10 games, the Brooklyn Nets have only won 40% of their last 10 games. They were 4-6 over that stretch. So basically, this is the backdrop to what they were discussing. So they were going over the highlights, and then they came back to really give their raw opinions on the Kyrie Irving situation. So before we go too far, what we want to do is we want to play the audio, and then we're going to come back and give you guys our thoughts. Before we go too far, take a listen to the audio here.
So, Chuck, what did you say about the Nets before the game? What was your hope in terms of Kyrie Irving?
I think that he has to really consider getting the vaccine because Kevin's out a month minimum. As they said, 4 to 6 weeks. So if we're realistic, it's a month. And he's only playing real games. They could, how many games they play in the next
11
month?
out of 14 on the road.
It don't matter if they playing home or road. They could lose. They could be deep to 6, 7, 8. Because they're not gonna win a lot of games without Kevin. They're not a good team. All three of those guys have to do so much of the heavy lifting. They're not good rebounding. They're not good defensively. They don't have a bench. They could lose a lot of those games with Kyrie and James Harden on the court.
The reason I asked the question, because I do remember what you said,
Yes.
was because Kyrie addressed that after the game tonight. And what do we have? Kyrie Irving says the Nets' injury situation won't change his vaccination status. I've made my decision already, and I'm standing on it.
Well, that's why I got a title for my book that I'm writing about here.
No, I mean,
No.
But why would you think? My question is this though: why would you think that a month of like winning or losing would make him change his decision? That's something that meaning like he made that decision when they had a chance. He's like, we got a chance to win it all, and that's at the beginning. So why would he? I wouldn't expect him to change.
Well,
maybe you don't expect him to.
No.
You hope.
So it's not.
I would hope he would change his mind.
As a selfish basketball fan, would I like?
No, it has nothing to do with being a basketball fan.
I'm not saying that he's. I'm not giving his vaccination stance. Or yes, do I have empathy for what he's saying and why he do it? Do I have sympathy? No, I think that we've all realized now that the vaccine is really. It's a great seatbelt. It helps all of us stay alive for longer. We realize that. But we also realize that now that we could still spread the virus. And so so I understand, I have empathy for his reluctancy. I'll let him take his stance, but I wouldn't expect him to change it in the middle of the season, no.
And this thing of ours, it doesn't last forever. It's all about sacrifice. I hear the conspiracy theories. I did all that. I sacrifice. I don't want y'all to get sick. I don't want my mama to get sick. I don't want my boys to get sick. So I sacrifice for the team. The Big Three was put together to win championships. Who knows what can happen next year? Who knows what can happen after you're there? When you have that chance, Kenny, when you got that slot, you got to go for it.
His stance is not going to change because the same way you believe that you sacrifice. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking.
I'm not saying
you sacrifice for what? Because you still can pass the virus. That's what people are saying who are not taking it.
I'm not saying you should change, but
I'm just saying I'm going to do it because I felt it was good for me. I think that it was going to protect me better, and that's all I could do.
I don't care what he does. I'm just saying that in this thing of ours, when you want to win for your fellas and everybody else is doing it, sacrifice plays an important role in winning the championship.
And I actually, he talked Kevin Durant into going to Brooklyn. He talked him.
This is before COVID, bro. You can't put the two together, though.
No, what I'm saying.
You can't say that.
No,
Like,
but I'm
totally
saying,
different
if you
stances,
talk, if I say, Kenny, let's go to another network together, and then I says, hey, Kenny, you can sign your deal, and I changed. I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stay at Turner. I don't think that's fair to you. That's just my personal opinion. Listen, we can listen. I'm not talking. About
I just think that this is.
I'm not talking about this dude anymore.
Now, after listening to that, I think that there are two major issues based on what Charles Barkley said. Two major issues that Charles Barkley seems to have with Kyrie Irving, and I want to kind of break it down based on what I think. Right, I could be wrong. Some of you guys obviously can feel otherwise, and you're going to be free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Essentially, these are the two issues I see Charles Barkley having. The first one, I think he feels that by Kyrie Irving not being vaccinated, I think he sees it as something that can hurt his team's chances of winning. And I think that Charles believes that Kyrie Irving is on the Brooklyn Nets for that very reason, essentially to help his team win games. You got to look at it from his vantage point. Charles Barkley, I think, is looking at it from a teammate standpoint and as a competitor. So he's probably looking at, okay, this is my teammate. I think this is the lens that these guys are looking at this situation through. This is my teammate. So he's looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, this was somebody I was playing with. This is how I would feel, right? He's not looking at it from a standpoint of an onlooker, as a fan, as a politician. He's looking at it from the standpoint of a teammate because he was a former athlete. So that's the first thing. And I think, to take it a step further, and I think he's also looking at it from the standpoint, given the fact that Kyrie is supposed to be there to help his team win game, he's also I think the situation gets exacerbated with the fact that Kevin Durant is currently injured, and he's most likely going to be gone for about a month or so. The report said he's going to be gone for about 4 to 6 weeks. So he's looking at it from the standpoint that Kyrie should be doing everything possible to help his team win games. Number one, given the fact that you're a team member, you're a teammate, so that's the primary reason you should be there. And secondly, given the fact that some of his teammates have gone down, and in this case, we're talking about Kevin Durant. So that's the first thing. The second issue I think Charles Barkley has with Kyrie Irving is that I think he feels that Kyrie thinks he is bigger than the game and his teammates. Here's why I think that. I think Charles gets annoyed that Kyrie Irving is only looking at this situation from the standpoint for what works best for himself instead of what works best for his team. Right? I personally think that everyone initially, this situation, because we're all living in the world, I think everyone initially approaches this matter from the standpoint of their own personal well-being, right? You first start, okay, what's the best thing for me? That's initially where we all start off. However, I think that there's a tremendous amount of people out there making their decisions, not just based on what's best for them, but they're also looking at how their decisions may impact people around them. For example, you may have a parent that's for or against being vaccinated, but they also just can't make the decision solely based on what they think is best for them. They also have to look at their children. This is what a responsible parent would do. And then the parent would make the decision. As their parent, they have the right to make the decision for their children to say, okay, I'm going to do this and you're going to do X, Y, and Z, or not do X, Y, and Z. That's the first thing. Parents have that right, and parents are going to make that decision for their children. It may be a coworker of yours, right? Somebody may say, okay, I'm going to do this based on how I think it may affect the other person. And then some people are going to be like, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And that's it. So I think those are the two major issues that he is having with Kyrie Irving. Now, personally, the reason we decided to produce this video was for what he said at the end, which I thought was just hilarious. He was like, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm tired of talking about this dude, and I hope they lose. Like, that was so funny. And I'll tell you why it's so funny. Number one, it is classic Charles Barkley. He didn't sugarcoat his feelings. He didn't hide how he felt. He just kept it real. He was like, I don't really like what this dude is doing, so I definitely want to see them lose. And I think that's a kind of honest. It's like, you see somebody like, man, I would really love it. This guy just like, I think that's a human reaction, and I thought it was just hilarious. And that was the one that kind of prompted this entire thought to do this video. However, when we now saw his comments and heard what him and Shaq had to say, because Shaq also, had some strong opinions. And Shaq, I think Shaq once said that he basically told Kyrie off to his face. Because I think Shaq is from New Jersey. And I think Kyrie Irving is from New Jersey. So I think these guys move around in similar places. I could be wrong, but I think I heard Shaq say that. So I guess the question is, what are your thoughts, number one, on what Charles Barkley and Shaq had to say? That's number one. And number two, how do you see this thing playing out in Brooklyn in terms of, will they ultimately pay the fines to allow Kyrie Irving to play as an unvaccinated player? Because y'all heard the reports that they could do that, which would allow him to play basically games, pay the fine. Or do you think the situation will remain as is? Because Kyrie Irving also made his thoughts pretty clear in that audio, based on what he said, that he's not going to change his position, irrespective of what is going on with his teammates not being there or not. He seems to be, pretty steadfast on his stance on this entire situation. So my thoughts, those are my questions to you guys. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.